Imagine a place where the madness of a Roman emperor meets the worship of an ancient goddess, a place that for nearly 2,000 years has hidden secrets so incredible they defy all logic. This is no ordinary tale. This is the story of a seemingly tranquil lake, Diana's mirror, which for centuries has held a secret that speaks to us of unbridled luxury, breathtaking engineering, and a past so extravagant it almost seems invented. Get ready to discover what really lies beneath the dark waters of Lake Nemi. In the beating heart of the Alban Hills, not far from the din of eternal Rome, lies a natural jewel nestled among ancient woods and surrounded by green valleys. This small but very deep body of water is Lake Nemi, known since ancient times as the Mirror of Diana. It is not a lake like the others, its waters have something mysterious, almost as if they knew they held something ancient, something powerful. This small basin, of volcanic origin, is not only a scenic wonder, it is a portal to a past of forgotten cults, imperial pomp, and enigmas that still fascinate today. Here, where time seems to have stopped, one of the most incredible and least known stories of ancient Rome took place. The history of Nemi does not begin with emperors or luxurious ships, but with a cult and a deep connection with nature and its deities. Long before Rome dominated the world, these shores were already sacred. Here stood the temple of Diana Nemerensis, a sanctuary dedicated to Diana, goddess of the hunt, the moon, and protector of fertility. Imagine this place, an imposing temple hidden among thick, almost wild vegetation, which created an atmosphere of profound spirituality. It was not just any sanctuary, but a real pilgrimage center. From every corner of ancient Lazio, common people and nobles, farmers and soldiers faced long journeys to reach these shores. They came to honor the goddess, to ask for her protection of their crops, to propitiate the hunt, or simply to rediscover contact with the divine in such a pure and uncontaminated environment. Every step towards the temple was an act of devotion, an abandonment to the mystery that surrounded the place. Offerings piled up on the altar, whispered prayers mingled with the rustling of leaves and the singing of birds. It was a place where the boundary between the human and divine worlds seemed to become thin, almost impalpable. And then there was the king of the forest, Rex Nemerensis, a legendary figure, the priest of the cult of Diana. But becoming Rex Nemerensis was not an honorary position for nobles or elders. It was a deadly challenge. Only a runaway slave who managed to detach a sacred branch from a tree in the forest had the right to challenge the current priest to a fight to the death. The winner, the killer, became the new king of the woods, destined in turn to be killed by a new challenger. It was a barbaric ancient law, a rite that underlined the primordial link of the cult with violence and wild nature, an echo of a remote past that made the sanctuary of Nemi even more fascinating and fearsome. This bloody tradition added a further layer of mystery and drama to a place already steeped in profound meaning, transforming a simple sanctuary into a stage for an ever renewing human and divine drama. But the fame of Lake Nemi, from an ancient and wild place of worship, made an incredible leap during the imperial period, reaching the height of its notoriety with one of the most discussed and controversial emperors of Rome, Caligula. We are in the 30s of the 1st century AD. Caligula, known for his extravagance and his borderline unreasonable behavior, he decided that this small sacred lake would be not only Diana's domain but also the stage for one of her most daring and astonishing displays of power. The emperor, in a move that would have left even his contemporaries speechless, ordered the construction of two colossal ships. They were not simple boats nor warships. They were real floating palaces, sumptuous palaces designed for pure entertainment and the display of unparalleled luxury. Imagine seeing them appear on the surface of the lake, so small compared to their size, so unexpected in such an intimate natural context. These ships were for their time an unprecedented engineering feat, a direct challenge to the impossible. Their size was astonishing. The largest measured about 73 meters long by 24 meters wide, the other a little less. They had spacious decks, not single but multi-level, and their internal structure was a labyrinth of rooms and halls. Caligula spared no expense in making them true floating masterpieces. The decorations were of an exaggerated richness. Polychrome marbles, imported from the empire's finest quarries, covered floors and walls, creating astonishing plays of color and veining. Fine mosaics, made from tiny tiles, depicted mythological scenes, exotic animals, and geometric patterns glittering in the sun. Bronze and marble statues, true works of art, adorned every corner, transforming the ships into floating art galleries. But luxury didn't stop at aesthetics. Caligula wanted these ships to be places of pure pleasure and comfort. Thus, real spas were installed on board, with hot water flowing thanks to sophisticated hydraulic systems, a prodigy for the time and an unimaginable luxury on a vessel. There was no shortage of hanging gardens garnished with exotic plants and flowers that added an unexpected touch of nature to the center of the lake. There were fountains spouting fresh water, kitchens equipped for sumptuous banquets, and halls for shows and entertainment. Every imaginable luxury had been poured into these floating houses, which Caligula used for parties, orgies, and private retreats. It is said that even the technology was cutting edge. The ships were equipped with ball bearings, an invention that many mistakenly attribute to much more recent times, and complex steering systems. Building these ships on a small volcanic lake was a monumental undertaking. It required incredible organization, a disproportionate amount of manpower, and the use of engineering techniques that were cutting edge for the time. The transport of materials, the launching of such imposing structures in a relatively small body of water, everything was a demonstration of the Roman ability to challenge and conquer nature. These ships were not only an expression of Caligula's megalomania, they were also a testament to the extraordinary skill of Roman engineers and craftsmen. They were a monument to a man's will to shape reality to his liking, a gesture of pure and simple ostentation. And then the mystery. What happened to these wonders? Despite their magnificence and the effort put into their construction, the Nemi ships did not have a long life. After the death of Caligula, assassinated in 41 AD, these floating palaces, symbol of his controversial reign, were mysteriously sunk. What? The exact reason is still a matter of debate among historians. Were they sabotaged by opponents of the deceased emperor who wanted to erase every trace of his passage? Were they deliberately sunk to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands or being used for sacrilegious purposes, given the sacred nature of the lake? Or was it simply a gesture of contempt for the memory of a tyrant? Whatever the cause, the ships vanished beneath the dark waters of the lake, becoming a whispered legend, a secret guarded by the muddy bottom. This sinking added a further layer of fascination and mystery to an already incredible story, turning Caligula's creations into sunken phantoms, objects of pure speculation for centuries to come. For centuries, Lake Nemi became a silent guardian. Its dark waters, which had reflected Caligula's unbridled luxury, returned to reflect only the surrounding sky and woods, but beneath the surface the ship's secrets lay undisturbed, shrouded in mud and legend. The memory of those floating palaces never completely faded. The fishermen, the locals, the curious, everyone knew that something extraordinary rested on the bottom. The stories were passed down from generation to generation, enriched with fantastic details. There was talk of sunken treasures, of gold and jewels that shone in the darkness of the lake depths. There were those who swore that on particularly clear days they had seen the dark silhouettes of ships across the crystalline water, like ghosts from a forgotten past. And the legends were not just about ships. It was said that ancient deities, and in particular Diana, continued to watch over the waters, punishing anyone who dared to violate their sacredness. These rumors fueled an aura of mystery and awe around the lake, making it an almost magical place. The first time an attempt was made to recover something from the bottom of the lake was in the 15th century, when Cardinal Prospero Colonna, fascinated by the legends, attempted to explore the depths using an ancient bell-shaped ship. Despite the efforts, the technical difficulties were immense, and the discoveries were minimal but enough to further fuel the fascination with the submerged palaces. Several centuries later, in the 19th century, other scholars and archaeologists attempted the same feat, but with little success. The technologies were not yet up to the challenge. The turning point came only in the 20th century. It was during this period that the dream of recovering Caligula's ships turned into a true national ambition, particularly under the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, who saw Roman greatness as a symbol of Italian rebirth. In 1928, an archaeological operation of colossal proportions was launched, an unprecedented undertaking. The decision was drastic: to partially drain the lake through an ancient Roman emissary tunnel dating back to the time of Caligula himself and which served to regulate the water level to avoid flooding. A gradual and controlled lowering of the lake level was carried out. Imagine the scene: the water slowly retreating meter by meter, revealing the muddy bottom for the first time in nearly 2,000 years. It was a moment of incredible tension and anticipation. And then finally they appeared. The dark shapes of Caligula's two ships emerged from the mud, huge, imposing, just as the legends had described. The recovery was a complex operation requiring years of work, the use of gigantic pumps, and the employment of hundreds of workers and archaeologists. As the ships were freed from the mud, their magnificence was revealed in all its grandeur. Finely worked bronzes were found, including animal heads and naval decorations, statues, mosaic tiles, lead pipes decorated with Caligula's name, and even an extraordinarily large anchor. Each find was a fragment of history, a tangible testimony to Roman engineering and the emperor's sumptuous court life. A museum was built specifically to house these discoveries, the Roman Ship Museum, right on the shores of the lake. The ships, after being recovered, restored, and preserved, became the main attraction, silent witnesses of an age of splendor and madness. But the story of the Nemi ships also has a tragic and painful side. Sadly, their greatness was not to last. In 1944, during the final stages of World War II, as Allied troops advanced towards Rome and German soldiers retreated, The Roman ship museum was severely damaged and the ships almost incredibly burned in an inexplicable and devastating fire. Despite the investigations, the exact circumstances of the fire remained unclear. Was it a deliberate act of sabotage by German soldiers, an accident due to the bombing, or the passage of the front? What is certain is that most of the ship's wooden structures and a large part of the artifacts were lost forever, turning their history into a double drama of recovery and loss. Today, in the reconstructed museum, one can admire the surviving metal remains, reproductions, and models, but the site of the original ships is now only a memory. This priceless loss has added a further veil of melancholy and tragedy to the already complex history of Lake Nemi. Today, Lake Nemi is much more than just a body of water. It is a portal to a fascinating past, a place where echoes of ancient cults mingle with stories of imperial excess. Walking along its banks is like taking a step back in time, feeling the presence of Diana among the trees, or almost imagining the unbridled luxury of Caligula's ships that once sailed these waters. The myth of Diana lives on in the reflection of its waters, an invitation to explore the depths of history and nature.